to know, to be informed properly, and second, to do, to actualize, and to strive. The mixture of the two is the medication needed to produce many, many changes. Here, we're speaking about sabr. Keep that in mind. Note, my dear brothers and sisters, that من أشق أنواع الصبر على النفوس, of the most difficult types of sabr to the nafs, is when two things are present, when two conditions are present. It makes sabr very difficult. So if two things are present, make sabr very difficult, what should we do to have sabr? What should we do to make sabr easier? You have heard me? If there are two things that make sabr very difficult, what should I do to have sabr? Just simple logical question, yes. That's all. It's simple. We're expecting, I'm asking for. So it's just that simple. So the answer is, I should stay away from those two things. I should do what I need to do. I should strive to have those two things not present. Number one, قوة الداعي إلى الفعل. The internal drive inside of me to do something which is wrong. Sometimes there is a strong drive for that, versus if the drive inside of it is not strong. If the drive inside of me is weaker, then I have more chance to be patient. But if the drive inside of me is very strong, chances are that I will fall to that. Wouldn't you say? Right? Please forgive me, allow me. For a young person, a youth, a young person, the drive inside to commit zina, an illicit sexual relationship, is stronger in him or her than in the person who is very old, an elderly person. So the elderly person will find more sabr not to fall into that sin than a person who is, on average, young. Because the drive is stronger. Alright? The person is very hungry. The drive inside to eat anything available is stronger than the person who is barely hungry, and therefore to eat haram. The drive of a sultan, of a king, of a president, of a general, of a judge, to do injustice, to oppress, to control, is it strong or weak? Strong. Versus the drive of such comportment in a person who has no leadership at all whatsoever. Control of what? Or of whom? Less, you will have more patience to practice injustice, or to want to be in control, or to destroy, to keep in control. See what I mean? Number two, سهولة ذات الشيء. The internal drive inside and the ease and the availability of that thing. Are you with me? If something is available, if some haram or evil or destructive thing is available to me, especially if I have that drive inside and availability, it will make sabr more difficult. More difficult. So if I have available means of disobeying Allah Azza wa Jalla, I keep them at home, available in books, in television. I have access to those through publicities. I can purchase them easily, whatever means. And they are easy for me, they are available. The environment provides them even for me for free. Then I will have the tendency to have less sabr, to use them in ways that are intended to be used in evil ways. A person who has the drive and an availability of a weapon is going to be more prone to do wrong than the person who does not have that availability, even if there is the drive. Are you with me? So what do I need to do? Very clear, very obvious, and it requires sabr, very obvious. I need to keep away from availabilities of means to do wrong. The environment is available. The publicities, the marketings, and I go and have access to those, and it's available, and I bring it home even sometimes. And then I cannot expect to be easily patient, and I cannot expect to fulfill my humanity and my humanity's requirements. Keep away from that. Keep away from bad company. Keep away from the friends and the environment and the resources that make it easy for me to do wrong. Whatever that wrong is, not performing salah, not fasting, or committing illicit relationships, wal-'iyad billah, or usurping, or killing, or stealing, and so on. Or being angry at someone, or violating the emotional rights of someone else. Whatever helps me do that, I should keep away from it. Whatever facilitates it for me, I should keep away from it before it happens. Because it is easier to keep away from something before it happens than to keep away from it when I'm indulging in it. Isn't it true? It's easier to fight something before it happens than to fight it when I am in the midst of it. Very important to have sabr. I should therefore also work to keep away from also the means and the conditions that make the drive inside of me very strong. And the drive inside of me can be weakened by me working at cultivating and magnifying and strengthening the call inside of me of deen and aql, at the expense of the call inside of me of shahwa and ham, passionate appetites, and of base and low inclinations. Do you see what I mean? If I work at that, then the drive inside of me for wrong will be weakened. And the drive inside of me for good will be strengthened and intensified to attain sabr. To attain sabr also, I come back to, as I said, information, knowledge empowers. To know what is wrong and what is right. To study that, to learn. The Quran, the Sunnah are filled with that. Knowledge of righteous ulama and of Allah, loving ulama, is filled with that. The examples of their lives as examples to emulate. And when I keep myself informed with that, it helps me. Because then through that knowledge also, not only do I learn that there are people actually who are beautifully patient under very difficult circumstances, and later it became for them even easier. Also, that empowers me with the ability to know the consequences of my actions. To learn about what the consequences of my actions will be, of evil or of good, in this dunya and in the hereafter. When I don't know that, I could be doing anything thinking it is right. And I fall into doing the wrong things, and I don't even think of being patient. Because, well, it's normal, it's okay. I never learned that there was anything wrong with it. So to empower myself through knowledge as to the probable, not only the certain consequences, not only sure consequences 100%, but even the probable consequences of what I do or what I don't. The consequences of zina, of committing illicit sexual relationships in my life as an individual and as a society. Just go and turn your knowledge sources, turn to your knowledge sources about, for example, the economic consequences of diseases as a consequence of this free practice of sexuality. Go to those probable real consequences about hundreds of billions of dollars that cost to this country every year because of those things. And then the thousands of people who fall sick through incurable diseases every year on account of that type of Bahimi freedom. Nay, people who die every year, who die of diseases caused by the prevalence of free sexuality. Go check that. Those are not Muslim websites. They are very neutral. Medicine, statistics. Go look at that. Study the consequences. If you're not still satisfied with the consequences of those spiritually and morally on you in this dunya, in this world, before the hereafter. And then the consequences of the hereafter, we do know and others do not know. When they don't know, again, it's lack of information. They cannot make a judgment on the basis of ignorance. We know when they don't know of what happens in Akhirah. And they help us know of the consequences of what happens in dunya. In dunya even. Studying, knowing, empowering ourselves with knowledge about the probable consequences of our actions, or of stealing, or of killing a life, or of killing innocent people, or of responding, as we were mentioning earlier, to harm done to us by indiscriminately killing people and innocent people, and doing disservice to generosity given to us and to Islam and Muslims here and elsewhere. How are the consequences of that? When we don't know, we are not, we're liable not to be patient. Now, the other thing is power. Of things that help us strengthen our internal call for wise reason and being and be patient is also to remind ourselves when we don't have patience, I should have a discourse with myself alone from learning, when I don't have patience and indulge myself freely in disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal in so many different ways, I should remind myself that I'm like a khinzir. As a Muslim, this is very strong. Remind myself I'm like a pig. I am. Well, I'm not judging others. I'm judging others. I want to change. I'm interested about others. I want to change. So every time I indulge freely in things, what's the difference between me and a pig? A pig discriminates not in what it eats. It's, what is it? What's a pig? Is it an omnivore, carnivore, or an herbivore? It's an omnivore. It eats anything. It eats anything. It behaves in any way we think. And it has some behavior even about sexuality that is bizarre and strange sometimes. SubhanAllah. Remember, when I don't have sabr, I am losing my insaniyah. I should remind myself of that to help me have more sabr, my dear sisters and brothers. I should also find alternatives, halal alternatives, lawful, legal, moral, halal alternatives to that which my nafs is longing for, which is prohibited and therefore harmful. Alternatives. And there is always an alternative. Always halal, legal, moral alternative. Always. Sometimes simply because we are ignorant, or we have not done enough research, or we have not asked enough. And we did not make enough efforts. There is much more, infinitely, but widely, much more halal alternatives to everything than haram alternatives and harmful alternatives. Do that. Find, know, practice halal alternative at all levels of concerns of life. The concept of tasabbur, as Rasulullah calls it, وَمَنْ يَتَصَبَّرْ يُصَبِّرُهُ اللَّهُ. It simply means that the person who strives and struggles to be patient. Imagine that. Patience is difficult, it's intense, it's bitter. But if I struggle to be patient, meaning patience in the beginning is very difficult for me, then he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah will make such a person patient. وَمَنْ يَتَصَبَّرْ يُصَبِّرُهُ اللَّهُ. i.e., patience is learned by practice. It is difficult in the beginning, it becomes easier and easier and easier. Let me get my nafs used to struggling against shahawat and appetites and desires and evil things and wrong things. Let me train it to be so. And in training it to be so, gradually it will become easier and easier. Wouldn't you say so? Do you have examples like that in your life? Do you? I'm sure you do if you think about it. You want a strong body? Are you doing that? You want a strong body? You want to lose some weight? They say, huh? You go to the gym. Halal gym, of course. Proper environment. Don't try to remove something bad with something worse by being in an environment that is haram. So when you go to the gym, what do? What does the instructor tell you to do? Examples. Hurry up. You know. What does he tell you? Work out. Some of that workout is what? Stretching out. What else? Sit-ups, push-ups. Are they difficult in the beginning? When the first time you went? Do 100 push-ups. For you could do 10 probably. 20. And then you fall. You can't continue. The instructor says, strive. Yes, sir. And you continue to do that. You continue to do that. And then the next time, when you come with all sores everywhere and pain, and you want that change, so you keep going, you keep practicing. Guess what? Gradually until, now you can do 100 push-ups. And then you keep doing those 100 push-ups and regularly working until they become very easy. Sabr led you to that. Simply a physical thing. Train your nafs, train my nafs to be in sabr against what it desires. Gradually, you can't, no. You continue gradually until Allah makes you sabr. Because you were sincere and you were honest, truly wanted to be a sabr, and you recognize you are weak, and you confess to Allah you are weak, and you work at it. And Allah helps you. إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمُ وَالْحِلْمُ بِالتَّحَلُّمُ says Rasulullah. Also knowledge, you can't be knowledgeable without struggling to know. Right? But struggle to know and you will be a scholar. Without struggle, you can never be a scholar. Even hilm, to be patiently forbearing. Not only patient, but patiently forbearing. Comes with practicing forbearance, gradually and gradually, until you become a patient person. So, practice. No to say no, as they say. Say no to those drives. Like they say no to drugs. You and I as Muslims, it's easy to say no to drugs, but alhamdulillah, overall, for most of us. Say no to other things that are not easy for you, and easy for you, or easy for me. Say no to them gradually when you know that Allah says do that. And you say no to your nafs who does not want to do that. Gradually. Say no. Gradually, until inshallah it becomes easier. And you become a sabr. وَمَنْ يَتَصَبَّرْ يُصَبِّرْهُ اللَّهُ. No pain, no gain, isn't it? It's a rule. It's a beautiful, simple rule. No pain, no gain in anything in this dunya, in this world. This is the home. This world is the home of trials, of tests, of cause and effect. You do, you get. Jannah is the home of hikmah, is the home of qudra, is the home of things happening without the notion of cause and effect as we know them, and therefore without struggle generating the fruits. No struggle, inshallah ta'ala, in Jannah. But this is dunya. Everything requires struggle. Either you struggle to be evil, wal-iyad billah, and to be disobedient, or you struggle to be virtuous and good and obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everyone struggles their own ways. One also beautiful, subtle way to help us in something. Sometimes we succumb to doing something wrong. Whatever that wrong is, please do not confine it to any one or two things. Sometimes I do that because there is a thought that comes to my mind, or a feeling that tickles my heart. And then I go along with it, I entertain it. Even a thought about another person. They are evil, they are this. Or I start a scenario in my mind which does not exist. Which is web. It does not exist. And I start entertaining it and going along with it and what if, and if it develops this way, and I end up, subhanAllah, as the thought is entertained when it started first as just small thing, a scintilla of a feeling or of a thought, and I entertain it, and I follow it. And it gets stronger and stronger and stronger until it becomes a resolve and desire to do something. And then once it happens, it's very difficult to stop. If a sort of a nuisance plant started in your garden, and then your wise father says, remove it. I have time, Daddy, it's okay, just a little plant. I can take care of it. You know, imagine this scenario. And he doesn't tell you, and you forget. I'll take care of it later. Until it became a tree. Now go remove it. Can you remove it? The answer is no. When was it easiest to remove it? When it was little, when it first started. But when it planted roots, it became stronger, it's sometimes even impossible to remove it. I mean by that, the thoughts, the feelings that begin, we should disconnect them from the beginning. Whatever thoughts they are, not only about eating or drinking or copulating or playing or this, but about others, about plans, about things, about other people, about possibilities, about, oh, they have said this, she had said that, and you continue to feed that until it becomes to you real, and then you go and you have already committed the sin inside of your heart. When it is easiest to cut it in the beginning. Don't entertain thoughts. Don't entertain thoughts. For when you do, they could end up in resolve and desire. And it is very difficult to change. To help us in sorrow. And therefore, what we said earlier, also, it's easier not to be in an environment that will induce those thoughts. Before even the thought comes, don't be in the environment that induces those thoughts. Try it. Help us in suffering. Otherwise, we are weaker and we succumb to the nafs and to the shaitan. Therefore, to sever the connectedness, the ties, the relations, the ropes, we have to means, whatever those means are, that will make us do wrong things. And disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and hurt and harm. Before even the thought comes as a suggestion. You know, Rasulullah teaches us about things to come in the future. You know, the Dajjal, al-Masih al-Dajjal, the Antichrist. You know what he taught about the Antichrist in relation to what we're saying? Even if you're a strong believer, very strong believer even, if you hear he is in this land, don't even think of going there. And move away from where he is as much as you can. Far away. Don't subject yourself to the environment that could be conducive to the thoughts that would lead to what is wrong and what is disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see? And this you can apply to so many things in your life. The way you conduct yourself at home, you raise your children, relationship with your spouse, as a teacher, relationship with students, at work, relationship with co-workers, with your work, and so on. All levels. This is applied. Sabr again. To make your mind and your feelings busy with other things that are beautiful, so that the mind does not stray and the feelings do not stray into an arena and a field and an area that is evil and that is wrong. Keep your aql, keep your mind, keep your heart busy with the beautiful things of Allah's creation and of things that lead to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make us aware of the divine beauty and majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Think of ala'illahi subhanahu wa ta'ala al-majluwati wal-matluwa, as they say. Ponder the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His written pages, in the written pages of the Mus'haf, and in the written pages of nature. Use your mind to reflect in this way, instead of allowing your mind to stray and therefore reflect and ponder and think about things that are wrong. Make your thoughts noble. Practice to make your thoughts and feelings and emotions